Hello, hello, hello. It's me, Richard Lewis Brown. Today's April 21st, 2021. As you know, the local 1000 election is going on right now, and I need your vote. I need your support to tell your colleagues, co-workers, and all state employees up and down the state that Richard Lewis Brown is running to be the new local 1000 president. And I've been getting tons of calls on so many different issues. So I'll try to talk somewhat briefly, and hopefully I can keep your attention. So the subject of this video is about slaves, the status quo, and cheating in local 1000 elections. Let me say it for you again. The subject of this video is about slaves, the status quo, and cheating in local 1000 elections. First thing, slaves. Our union has treated us like slaves for way too long. Way too long. And by treating us like slaves, they keep the status quo going. So I see Troy Phillips. So I'll repeat myself. Richard Lewis Brown, April 21st, 2021. I seek your support to become the new local 1000 president. I've been getting tons of phone calls. This video is about slaves, the status quo, and cheating in local 1000 elections. Our union has treated us like slaves for way, way, way too long, okay? And anyone who wants to come on this video with me and talk about this, just ask, put it in the text. It's in the text message, and I'll put you on. When you hear people say that we have to be involved in politics, what they're saying is they want to keep you in a slave status in order to keep the status quo in place. That's what they're saying. When they tell you that, the governors are our boss and that the politicians are our bosses, see, those are lies that they tell you to manipulate you, because we're voters and we're taxpayers. We're their bosses. But in order for those politicians to control us, they have to spread the message that they are our bosses. So they have a local 1000 president, Yvonne Walker, that continues this message for them because she's under control of SEIU in Washington, D.C. And this is why I said we have to create our own independence so we're not slaves to the SEIU in Washington, D.C. Because as I call it, slaves, entertaining in unity. That's what we're doing when we carry the SEIU name. We're slaves entertaining in unity, which means we're paying them all this money, carrying out all their political agendas while they destroy us. And when we go through a furlough situation or a POP situation, they never return any of that money to help us. And when we're going through these things, these financial losses, they never say, tell your people, reduce those dues for those people for a period of time, to help these people out. They never say that to you because they want to keep you as a slave. And as I have told people in the past, my ancestors came to America as slaves. And I'm not ashamed to say that because I know I'm not inferior. Okay? When they treat you as slaves, what they're saying is you're inferior to them, that you don't have the intellect, you don't have the emotional ability, that you're not good enough. And that's what our union has been doing for years, under the leadership of a black woman. That's what makes it even more disparaging. And so when I call her out because she's treating us as slaves, this is why I'm talking with such passion oftentimes in my videos. But after taking so many calls for the last few days and hearing the word slaves from black and white people, I have to finally address the issue. So a lot of times in my videos, if you wonder what's driving my videos, sometimes I've taken too many calls and people are demanding it. And by keep treating us as slaves and keeping the status quo, I've gotten calls about, Richard, who should we vote for? You can't vote for any of those other candidates because all these other candidates are against my 10-point platform. They're against me. Because if you think about it, when I say voting for all in our union and I'm not going to require you to pay money for it, what I'm really talking about is freedom. Voting gives freedom. You give voting to people who are free. And that's why slaves didn't have the right to vote. That's why women didn't have the right to vote, because they were treated as slaves, except the African slaves, my ancestors, because of the color of our skin, they put us in shackles. But women in America originally, white women, They weren't allowed to vote either. In fact, white men who didn't own property or who didn't pay taxes, initially, they were not allowed to vote. Because voting is about freedom. And this is why our union does not want people who are non-members voting. And this is why they don't spread the message. They keep you as a slave in a slave status so they can continue the status quo. So, which goes into my third part, cheating. Local 1000 has told you for years you can't use a state email to communicate about Local 1000 issues. See, that's how they treat slaves. They try to keep you in a dumb status. But that's cheating. She's lying. Yvonne Walker has people campaigning on her behalf, campaigning for her on her behalf, using the state email system so she can win re-election. And this is how she's won a lot of re-elections. This is how she's done it. She's told you don't use the state email to talk about union activities while she's doing it herself. But she has someone else do it for her because she's slick and she's conniving and she's evil. Not her as the person, but her actions. Okay? Cheating. When that person, Amanda Eichhorn, DLC, I believe 706 or 707, when she withdrew her name for Secretary Treasurer of her DLC, she did it after the deadline. They should not have allowed that. That's the first violation. Now, the policy file is not written in stone. Our policy file doesn't say anything about you not being able to withdraw your nomination after the deadline. But they put that timeline up as a guide. If you will not adhere to your guide and to your timeline, Local 1000, because you're cheating, you know, when they say, well, it's not written in stone. But to have those ballots returned by May 20th, now I believe that's written in stone in the policy file. So they pick and choose what parts of the policy file that they can really enforce. And then other things they can just wiggle around. See, that's why people think our union is corrupt and why our leader is corrupt and she's a cheater. But now I've gotten several calls and now I've caught her again. I've caught Yvonne Walker cheating again. This time at headquarters DMV, Brenda Ferguson, job steward Brenda Ferguson, one of Yvonne Walker's, henchmen, is telling people, bring your ballots in because they'll have a ballot harvesting party. Now, the policy file is nothing against a ballot harvesting party. You bring your ballot in, you fill it out, you sign the envelope, you seal it up, and then you give it to someone, and then they mail it off for you. There's nothing wrong with that by the policy file. Ethically, it's wrong. But by the policy file, it's not. But then again, look who's leading our union. Well, at headquarters DMV, what Brenda Ferguson is telling people, and I received numerous calls. She's telling people today, bring your ballots in today. We'll have a ballot party, and I'll give you some scratch-off tickets. I don't gamble, so the scratch-off lotto tickets, however that works. She's giving out these tickets today. Brenda Ferguson. Brenda, you're caught. You're caught. Now, is that a bribe? Implied. It's not saying that she's telling them you have to vote for Yvonne Walker. But if you're giving people scratch-off tickets and you're asking these people to vote for Yvonne Walker and you're basically bullying and pressuring these people to vote for Yvonne Walker, then it is a bribe. But I caught you. See, when I offered to pay someone's membership because I believe in voting, they said that that was a bribe. But it wasn't, because I'm offering to pay for your membership for you to vote. Would I like you to vote for me? Sure. But I've never told anyone on Facebook, when I'm paying for your membership, you must vote for me. I've never tried to bully you into voting for me because I offered to pay your membership. But Brenda Ferguson is bullying and pressuring these people at headquarters DMV. You know what? If you think that I'm wrong, just ask the DLC president, Dana Mesa, at DMV. Dana Mesa is an MTC, Unite Members for Change supporter. And I know that Yvonne and her people and Dana and MTC, they're clashing for those votes at headquarters DMV. Well, let me tell you something. I'm going to pull some votes out of DMV. Because like I said, I received numerous calls on what Brenda Ferguson is doing. But they're also doing this within CDCR. Here's the catch. People at DMV, it appears that they're still coming to work every day. They're not telecommuting. But see, this is the cheating that goes on in our union and why people don't believe in our elections. And people will continue to call and tell me what's going on. I'm going to put this up about what Brenda Ferguson is doing as the second violation, because somebody is going to really call me one day and really lay it out for me. And, cheating has happened in the past in our elections, but oftentimes the people who were doing the dirt, they don't want to rat themselves out because they're guilty just as much as Yvonne Walker is guilty. And so this time, someone, like I said, people were calling me. And it was more than one person calling me on these different things going on. And the word slaves kept coming up, and the word cheating and corruption kept coming up. And they said, will you please talk about this? And I said, I'm the most transparent. I am the only transparent candidate. And so when I call people out, and I told Yvonne Walker and Brenda Ferguson and to anybody else, if you think you're going to cheat this election, you're wrong. Because you're such hypocrites. You talk about voter restrictions in Georgia, but yet you restrict voting in our union against white people who are non-Democrats. That's what you do. That's the hypocrisy. You scream with excitement about racial justice, but you can't even enforce the contract for white people, let alone protect black men and women with our interaction with police. This is what I'm saying to you. When they tell you that these politicians are our bosses, well, if that is the case, because you want to keep us as slaves, slaves entertaining in unity for SEIU in Washington, D.C., then we don't need a union. And then you say, oh, yes, we do. We need to fight to make sure we have our pension. But you said the politicians are our bosses. So if they make the final decision, why do I need you for? Why am I paying dues for? You don't protect me in the workplace. You don't protect me from bad behaving, egotistical, self-serving bosses. Why do I need you for? This is why a lot of people will not pay money to the union. Costs too much. They don't think the union does anything. They think that the politics violates their core values. Again, this video is about slaves, the status quo, and cheating. And this is in our union. At some point, people have to wake up and say, I'm not going to be a slave anymore. I'm not going to be a slave. I am going to vote. If I have to register to vote, and you can still register right now, go to the Local 1000 website, sign up online, contact the Local 1000 elections at SEIU1000.org. I'll say it again. Contact the elections committee at Local 1000 elections at SEIU1000.org. It's not too late to sign up. At some point, you have to stop being a slave. You have to. As long as you act like a slave and think that the politicians are your bosses, they'll treat you as slaves. As long as you're involved with SEIU in Washington, D.C., and you give them all this money, you're going to continue the slave status. Now, I'm not a slave. This is America. This country started with slavery. Fair enough. Our Civil War was fought over slavery. Fair enough. Jim Crow laws were enacted to keep black people in line. Fair enough. The poll tax was enacted so black people couldn't vote in the South. Fair enough. I get it. I get it. But we're not slaves today. And even though we have a lot of problems in our country that we're trying to address, our union needs to address the fact that you should not be involved in politics. The only thing you should be involved in, contract negotiations, job representation. And when you elect me president, and I get you that 21% pay increase with GO pay and COLA for everyone, and not just for 4 different counties, when we reduce the dues by 50%, we establish term limits, 2 term limits for all elected positions. We have total financial transparency. When you ask me a question, I'm going to answer you and put it in writing on our website that's available to everyone. So you know I'm accountable and I'm transparent. And then from day one, all of my decisions, my behavior is going to be on video so that when they try to recall me, they're going to try to recall me. You can believe that. You can say I'm not signing that recall petition. And I stand against International. Because International will never allow you to control your money. Because by the agreement we have with them, we have to pay them first every month before we do anything else. That's wrong. That's why they have to go. You have to stop paying these people. We went through the furlough fiasco 3 days, the POP 2010, 2012, and the current POP. Where's our insurance policy? We have none. So when SEIU International tells you we're stronger together, no, they're stronger because they're taking money from different locals across America and they're sponsoring, they're supporting the Democratic Party on all these social issues. Yeah, they're strong. We're not strong. We're not stronger with them. We'll be stronger without them because we'll have our independence. The same way European settlers came to America and fought a revolutionary war to become independent from Great Britain, or should I say England at that time. We have to fight a war. It's a revolutionary war. We have to become independent from SEIU. We cannot continue to be slaves. Think about it. The image of state employees that were lazy, we're unintelligent, we're uninspired, we don't care, we get paid too much, we don't work hard. All of those kind of things, if you think about it, except for getting paid too much, those things about being lazy and uninspired and not intelligent and not motivated, that's what they said about the African slaves. Think about that. That's what they said about the slaves. So when I tell you that my belief in God says that I'm on a divine mission and the Spirit talks to me, and when I tell you I do unscripted, unedited, unrehearsed, the Spirit is going through me right now. This is not practice. Sometimes you hear me stumbling over my words. I'm talking too fast. But I asked God, I said, let me convey this, because these people who are calling me, they're really upset. And sometimes you hear in my videos, I'm giving that passion and that, quote, rage, because I'm trying to give that energy that people are tired of being beat down. Okay? When these people are keeping you as slaves, think about it. This is why you're working 2 or 3 jobs. This is why you're at the food bank. You're collecting food stamps. This is why you shop at Walmart. And Walmart is so anti-union, it's pathetic. We need financial justice. We need dignity justice. When you hear people talk about Black Lives Matter, what Black people in America are saying, we want to be treated with equality and fairness. And not just with the police, but in all aspects of our life, because our ancestors came over as slaves, and we're still going through that today, even though we don't have the shackles, okay? Even though there are no black codes, Jim Crow laws. We're still going through that today in a lot of the different areas of life in America. This is what we're going through in Local 1000. You're not being treated with respect. They don't care about your contract. And our dignity clause in our contract, CalHR is the final decision maker. They decide about your dignity. That's not an equal partnership. That's not. You know, how many people do you know in Local 1000 work out of class? And how many of them have been able to file a grievance and win that and get paid? They work you like a dog. They work you out of class. They bring you back into your class for one day, and then they start to cycle back over again so they don't break the contract. Because our contract is written to benefit the state. The dignity clause, the out of class, working out of class, the sick leave. You know, you're sick, your boss harasses you about bringing the doctor's note. Some agencies, they harass you, some they don't. Our contract doesn't really protect us. I mean, think about it. We gave up our money while under a signed contract. Our 2.5% pay increase for July 1st, 2020, we won't get to next year because they look at you as being a slave. Remember, the slaves from Africa, one of the things that they desperately try to do, don't allow them to read. Don't teach them how to read and write. Most of our people in our union do not read our contract. That's how these contracts get passed. Because people are not reading, okay? When you read and you really educate yourself, you take time. Because if you don't read, if you don't study your past, then you're going to make mistakes in the future. So when people tell you, well, we're not worried about the past, that tells you that they're going to be tricked again in the future with the same stuff from the past. Because they're uneducated, they don't want to take the time and read. And everyone in America went to school. You know how to read. Now, maybe your comprehension level is not that good. Fair enough. But you got to read. When people are calling and telling me that Brenda Ferguson and other people are begging people to vote for Yvonne Walker because she's a leader, leaders with vision with action. What action has Yvonne Walker taken to get your vote? And the most important thing is some people are going to vote for her again. because they're in this slave status. They don't feel they can do anything. They don't feel that there's nothing they can do. The politicians are our bosses. And they love for you to say that. These people on Facebook that tell you these things, they're acting like slaves. There's nothing we can do. We just have to just keep going and put our head down. No. We can't continue to be slaves in this country. We can't continue to be slaves to SEIU. As I say, slaves entertaining in unity at their pleasure. And you're giving up all your money and your dignity to these people. And SEIU and DC, they work in conjunction with, Gavin Newsom and these other politicians. It's all a racket. And they keep us divided. They divide us out by job classifications. See, that was one of the tricks that the politician Jerry Brown did years ago. Yeah, we'll let you unionize, but we want to have different bargaining units, and we'll put different job classifications in the different bargaining units. Instead of putting us all together as one gigantic union. You create the division, different bargaining units, and then we'll let different unions represent different job classifications through their bargaining units. And so that way we can still keep control, because as long as we can control the public sector presidents, then we can control the unions. That's what they did. Politics. It's about control. They want to control you, keep you as a slave. In Local 1000, when we used to be CSEA, our biggest mistake was affiliating with SEIU and DC because they made us their slave. And here's what they said. If you don't affiliate with us, some other union may try to come and raid you and take you over. You can't take over something that's already strong. When the people are strong and they're willing to stand by CSEA. But see, here's the hypocrisy of it all. CSEA was trying to raid other unions, or should I say other bargaining units, to take over them. Go back in history and look. And then when people tried to raid them, they ran to International. International came and said, hey, here we are, we'll protect you. But part of the plan was the agreement. You got to support the stronger together. You got to wear our purple colors. You got to carry our logo. Initially, CSEA didn't do that, but then it was a big old power struggle. And this is where Jim Hart comes into play, our first Local 1000 president, former Civil Service Director. He agreed with International. And the big problem they had back then, talking about slaves, this is how the game goes in politics. Jim Hart was at war with Perry Kinney. Perry Kinney was collecting a salary stipend. And Jim Hart was against that. And so was Yvonne Walker. When she ran in 2008, she said, I'm against the salary stipend. And then she turned right around like a politician and took the money. The same thing that MTC did in 2018. They told you, Sophia Perkins, Annika Walls, Kevin Menninger, Tony Owens, we don't believe in the salary stipend. And then a year later, and here's the funny thing, they took the money. And here's the funny thing. Yesterday, Kevin Menninger admitted it. It was all part of their plan. He told Carmen Ledesma that, and then he tried to take it back. Politics. See, when they treat you as a slave, they think you're stupid. You can't catch them. And then that's how to keep the status quo. And that's why all these people running on the ballot, all they're trying to do is replace Yvonne and get her out of there so they can start their own status quo. Everything stays the same. They say it's going to change. No, the only thing that's going to change is the players. The game of politics stays the same. I'm saying this, I'm just giving it to you, telling you this. This Facebook Live video today was about slaves, the status quo, and cheating. And they're all kind of together. Because if you think about it, they cheated the slaves left and right. Cheated them out of their dignity, cheated them out of their freedom. And even when they got the freedom through the Civil War, it took a war. Now, remember what I said? I said, when you elect me, I'm going to war with International for independence. I said, the revolution. I'm a radical. I'm the revolutionary. We had a revolutionary war to become independent of Great Britain. And then I said, I have to go to war for freedom, to stop the discrimination for white people who are non-Democrats. That's the civil war within our own union. I'm not crazy. And when people say, oh, sometimes he talks like he's having a regular conversation. But I'm college educated. If you want to play word games, don't think I can't play with you. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm addressing all these issues Because if you don't, nothing will ever change in this union. And this is why I tell you, change is not enough. You have to create a whole new environment, a whole new culture. And you got to give people freedom, and you got to give them hope. And that first hope starts with reducing the dues so they know that they're no longer slaves by paying this horrendous amount of money. When I was saying about cheating the slaves, the slaves in America, the African slaves, they were always being cheated. Even after they got their freedom, they were still, quote, being cheated. And all the way up to today, the descendants of these slaves, we say that we're still being cheated. That's why we say Black Lives Matter too. Not to diminish non-Black people. We just want equality. And so I try to tell people this. In my personal life, I know what Black Lives Matter means. I live it every day. But in my public life, as your union president, we can't be involved in politics because we have our own problem with equality and justice in our union. Again, our union should only be involved in contract negotiations and job representation. In order to do that, we have to stop being slaves, we have to eliminate the status quo, and we have to stop the cheating in these elections so that more people will run, more people can have a voice in our union. And by allowing everyone to vote and be job stewards and not putting a financial requirement on it, even though we need money to run our union, by allowing that, you're going to encourage all your non-members to come back now because they're going to feel like their voice is being heard and they're not being discriminated against. And white people in California will not say that because they have a level of sophistication, a level of culture. Some things they're just not going to say. But deep in their heart, they tell me in private phone calls how they feel. And they tell me some other things that aren't so politically correct because they're hurt. And I understand their pain. That's it. So, no hyped up video this morning. Just telling you, slaves, status quo, and cheating in our union. I'm going to stop all this madness. Hopefully you will tell everyone about this video. And you'll share it with everyone. Okay, and it's going to be up on my my website, createexcellence7437.com, and it'll be up on my YouTube channel, Richard Lewis Brown. You make it a great day in the state of California. We will win. Keep hope alive. And never, on this journey that we're on, this journey, don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. This is our one moment in time. This is it. We got to stir it up. Okay? All right. And God bless the USA. Have a great day. Thank you. Richard Lewis Brown, April 21st, 2021. I seek your support to be the new Local 1000 president. Thank you.